Hey everybody, what's up? This is Jack and welcome to Spy Gaming. Today we're going to be talking about some a moment of whiplash. Actually, no, I'm just kidding. We're going to be going over Update 36's combat preview. Yes, I did say Update 36. It is already being talked about. This is just a preview. It is nowhere near as in depth as the Update 35 changes. Um, it feels a lot like this is happening awfully fast, and I don't know if it's in response to the outcry that occurred alongside Update 35, which we covered, and I'll link, down in the description below. Um, Anyhow, so we'll just go ahead and hop right into it. So, the end of the year is fast approaching, and today we would like to discuss some upcoming adjustments you can expect with combat. Combat was the major change, if you don't know, with Update 35, and it had a lot of people, a lot of players very heated. Now, this particular post is not as in depth. That's the full length of the post. Um, Anyhow, it goes on to say this time around they're keeping things short and sweet since they're continuing to evaluate many of the adjustments made to the game over the past few updates. I'm going to say past few updates probably means mainly Update 35. I can't say that with any kind of certainty, but that has caused the biggest rift or the biggest backlash from the player base. This update won't have any sweeping changes or themes. Instead, the main focus is on bug fixing as well as a few adjustments to targeted abilities, sets, and passives based on community feedback. Now, abilities, they go over here. Sets, I'm going to guess Mara's Balm is the major one. And passives, which are also discussed in this area down here. For those interested in some of the bigger targeted adjustments, below are a few short summaries to chew on in the meantime. All right, so Backlash. Backlash's final hit will dynamically scale with your highest offensive stats. It will also have a baseline damage that increases based on your damage done to the target rather than exclusively scaling with weapon or spell damage, and the damage being completely reliant on the target's damage taken from you. Now, I read that it's a tad bit like muddy. What I take away from it is that it's going to scale differently. So for those of you who don't know or have never played a Templar, Backlash, I'll put it up here on the screen. Backlash, you summon an expanding beam of pure sunlight to doom an enemy, dealing 1161 magic damage to them, which is the base damage, and copying all their damage taken from you for 6 seconds and releasing 50% of it as an additional magic damage to them. And then it has a maximum copy damage that scales the value originally scaled off your spell damage. So I have to assume this likely applies as well to the morphs, Purifying Light, and the stamina one, which I can't think of off the top of my head because I'm half retarded right now and I don't actually use it all that much. Excuse me. So it's good to see, I guess it's good to see that they're making some changes to a class that they did nerf pretty. I won't say they nerfed the crap out of it, but they did do some damage to the Templar class itself. because so many of the good Templar skills are damage over time, and damage over time changes were some of the biggest changes that came with Update 35. Next up, we have Occult Overload, which I will also put up here on the screen for those who don't know or don't use it. It is a CP slottable, champion point slottable in the Warfare tree. It will be receiving some adjustments to be less explosive and less frequently available, but will offer some more self-sustaining synergy. The explosion will deal less outright damage and have a 1-second cooldown to prevent multi-procs, but will also apply a random status effect to all enemies hit. So if you can manage to kill them within that time, you can get another explosion to go off after the cooldown. 1-second cooldown is the global, is the universal cooldown. So anyhow, so for those who don't know, Occult Overload, whenever you kill an enemy under the effect of a status effect, they violently explode for 2560 Oblivion damage per stage to all other enemies in a 4-meter radius. There are 5 stages, so the max damage is 12,800 if you have it maxed out. This is probably, I don't want to say good. I'm not for anything that puts a ceiling on your ability to play effectively. Occult Overload, Vicious Death, Plague Break. There are other things out there that can be stacked with this that will also cause an explosion. Some skills, things like that. In the assault tree specifically, because you see, I think, if I had to give my opinion, Occult Overload probably shows up more in PvP than it does in PvE, although I have been playing around and testing it in PvE environments. Next up, we have Wardens, which Spy is still rather sour about his Warden because it was his main, and they did some pretty intense changes, or they implemented some pretty intense changes that he's not very happy about. I'll say it that way. So anyhow, advanced species, for those who don't know, I'll put it up here on the screen. Advanced species at rank 1, it's a passive for the Warden. Rank 1 increases armor penetration by 495 for each animal companion ability slotted. Rank 2 increases armor penetration by 990 for each animal companion ability slotted. So the changes are, it's going to be adjusted away from penetration and instead will grant increased critical damage. As we're noticing, light armor focused Wardens are down considerably more than their medium armor clad cousins. You do get a lot of penetration from being light armor focused. It's for sure gonna hurt medium armor. Primarily, this is primarily going to be. All right, so I don't know that penetration or crit damage, either one is more important than the other in a PvE in like content. In a group, there should be plenty of let me back up. In a well orchestrated group, there's going to be plenty of armor stripping, which is going to add to your personal penetration, and there will also be plenty of crit damage boosts, reaching towards that cap. So I don't know. I have a Warden. I haven't really worked on the Warden as much as I would like to allow me to say whether or not this is going to be a good or bad change, or if it's possibly not going to be a change that affects hardly anything anyway. But nonetheless, it is changing, or at least according to the preview here. The other change to Wardens is Piercing Cold. So I'll put it up. For those who don't know, I am also going to put that up on the screen. Piercing Cold increases magic and frost damage by 10% as it stands. So here, Piercing Cold will also be moving away from enhancing specific damage types and will instead enhance overall damage that will further increase when using an Ice Staff. Now, this is something Spy and myself have talked about without getting off too much of a tangent. This is something Spy and myself have talked about. Frost DPS being a viable thing. And this seems to lean in that direction. The passive is currently hurting many morph options that are meant to offer damage, which, it increases frost and magic damage by 10%. Hurting many morph options that are meant to offer damage as the class has a myriad of damage types that are not being affected by the passive. Alright, so the Warden class has 4 damage types, like specific, baked into the class skills. There are 4 damage types. The Warden damage types, which I'll put up here on the screen also, are Magic, Frost, Poison, and Bleed. So this particular passive only helps Magic and Frost. I don't know. Let's see here. Let's read it again. Piercing Cold will also be moving away from enhancing specific damage types and will instead enhance overall damage. All right. When using an Ice Staff, though, that's kind of, this makes me believe, this part here makes me believe that it may not necessarily help the poison and bleed damage aspects of the Warden class as much as they intend, but this is just a preview, so much like Update 35, I'm sure there is more to come, especially given that this is such a short post from the dev. So, it's very, we just got Update 35. A lot of people, a lot of players were not very happy about it. I do believe that it came back in the right direction some. I personally have a build that was just, it was straight up not affected, or you might as well say it's not affected. I changed one skill out due to the Empower buff change, but aside from that, I guess we'll have to see how this goes. I'm sure there was an Update 35 Q&A. There's been some talk about Mars Bomb, which again, back to, where's it at here? Sets. I'm going to guess that Mars Bomb is no way it's not going to be touched. Anyhow, they closed the preview up with, there will be a few other adjustments outside of the ones listed. Most of them will be smaller number tweaks, bug fixes, or performance improvements. And then they make the statement, this should largely bring everyone up to speed on what to expect for combat adjustments in Update 36. Thanks for taking the time to read, and we'll see you in Tamriel. Now, I don't know that it brings everyone up to speed on what's going on, or what is going to be coming with Update 36, but Again, we can see that it is combat oriented, and my prediction is I don't know how many updates, but over several updates, they're going to be tweaking, spending time tweaking and reworking probably a good amount of, passives, actives, sets. I don't know anything that affects combat, honestly, because there was such a sweeping change in update 35. It is good to know that update 36 is not a massive change, or at least not in the same way that update 35 was. So anyhow, more to come on this. If you enjoyed the video, give it a like and a share, and if you want to see more content like this, then watch the video that's getting ready to come up on your screen, and I will see you guys in the next one.